Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show for this Friday that is already starting off a little bit rocky. For some reason, it was streaming to the wrong, I don't know, titles. Welcome. It's Friday. It's May the 30th. We had thunderstorms all night last night, and today is going to be a friendly Friday. I got my buddy Steve Friend in here, so thank God I'm going to need him. He's going to try to keep us honest and keep us on track. In fact, I might bring him on right now. Steve, how are you doing, dude? There you are.
This is standard operating procedure. We're right back to the Snafu of Friendly Friday, right? Like the tech always happens. Look for the white vans. Now, I will say the American Rappers podcast.
It's new subscriber. Actually, the van pulls up and it says new subscriber on the outside now. So they're just letting us know they're part of our team.
Does the Wi-Fi say that the FBI surveillance 1, 2, and 3?
It's so good, dude. I don't know. It's just, I'm looking. I was like, wait a minute. We're streaming to the wrong titles, even though I copied and pasted the proper titles in. It doesn't make a difference. Oh, here we are. What are we going to talk about today, Steve? I gave you the kind of the preview intro.
Oh, we're going to talk about all the Fox Newses that Fox Newsed of all time about our ex-girlfriend and management and leadership. It should be a good time because that's the most cable news that I've watched in probably a decade.
Okay, you actually saw the Bongino and the Patel individual, the Dash Bongino combo. You've seen both of them now?
Oh, I was cooking with lots of Mrs. Dash, yes.
Okay, we're gonna go over some of those. We're not gonna just do that. Actually, there's kind of an interesting sort of playbook story, but I think it actually tells a deeper story about weaponization. So we're gonna do all those things. Before we get started in that, let me just say thanks to folks that keep me doing my job over here. These are the folks at Silent. If you guys want to go and protect yourself from big tech and from corporations and from criminals and scumbags and you name it, your privacy could be compromised 24/7. Check out my buddies over at Silent, slnt.com/Kyle. I had Tim Kennedy over my house yesterday. We were talking about stuff and gear and testing, and he'd actually said he'd used them as well and thought they were good to go, which is more validation, SF guy that understands the need for these sort of things. So there you have it. Silence Faraday products are blocking all incoming and outgoing RF signals, whether it be from Bluetooth, whether it be from radio, whether it be from Wi-Fi. You take your pick. There's all different bandwidths, and it blocks all of them. It makes your devices functionally invisible. It keeps them safe from outside attacks and hacks. And you can get a backpack or a phone sleeve or pants or you name it. All the different sort of types of technology that you might want to disguise, whether it be laptops or tablets or so on, you can do so with Silent. Again, you're safeguarding them from unauthorized access. You're taking yourself and making yourself disappear from the GPS grid. The Find My Friends won't know where you're at when you're hiding at the pool and you're trying to get in the water and just not be bothered. Go Silent today at slnt.com/KYLE. Again, it's slnt.com/KYLE. You'll save 15%. You'll get free shipping on qualified orders. You'll stay ahead of what's coming and you secure your privacy. Check them out. This is the one that we have sitting here on the desk, if you guys can see, if you're just listening. This is a little cool tablet-y thing that handles up to 2 smaller cell phones. So check them out again, slnt.com/KYLE. Link is in the show description. Let's dive into it. All right, and we're going to put Steve right back on the screen. Steve, have you given up anything for your new life at all, do you think? Have you sort of like taken on any sort of new experiences because you don't have an FBI job anymore?
I have lots of interesting experiences and interactions with people all the time. I don't wear restrictive waistbands anymore. It seems to be sort of like a house arrest situation. So it's definitely been an adjustment over the last 984 days. And I'm also had the recent experience of being stalked while swimming in a pool by people, which is probably going to necessitate carrying an edged weapon with me as I do my laps.
Hold on. You have to. So give people the background on this. First of all, you're injured because you are actually not a bionic cyborg. You're like a flesh and blood man, and you somehow injured yourself. What did you do? And then what is your follow up? And why do you have a new? What is the right word? It's not stalker. What did I say? He's in love with you. You have a new like admirer. Can we call it that?
Admirer, I think, is probably the most family friendly term we could have.
Get it
yes,
going.
I have a stress fracture in my tibia, which says that I can't run for very long without having excruciating pain and probably setting myself back during the recovery process. So I can't do the David Goggins. I can endure the pain. I just want to actually get better. So I have to stare at the bottom of a pool now if I want to exercise. And what I've been seeking out your guidance on, because you're more experienced in the pool swimming scene than I am, about like proper etiquette, about sharing lanes. And I've had some lane sharing drama with a Mr. Dad bod of late. And then recently,
is he a handsome man, this dad bod?
Well, I mean, he's got the long flowing hair that necessitates a cap. So for his speedy entrance into the pool and swim his 50 yards and then relax. I've never had the experience where somebody leaves the pool and then returns to the pool and then invades your lane to just wade in the water and drink and admire you as you swim by, which is
all right,
why
time
I
out,
probably
time out on the story. This is where it stops. So people have to put a comment in, not just the chat. People go down into the comments and let me know. You're swimming in the pool. You're doing fitness. Someone leaves the pool and then gets back in on your lane to just stand there waist deep and watch you swim as they drink a tasty beverage or rehydrate. Is this love? That's all I want to know. Does Steve Friend, did he find his person? Is that your lobster, man?
It's definitely the complexion. I am face of the franchise. I do have admirers now at the Globo gym. That is the first commercial gym I've attended in probably 15 years. It's probably going to last one once this leg heals up.
Are you in trunks or are you in a Speedo when you're swimming?
I do the knee length Speedo compression look because I want to be a little bit
Those
more.
are called jammers. You're in a jammer?
Yeah, I'm not doing the banana hammock.
Okay. Now listen, some people think that you're very unflappable. That's been my experience. You're pretty hard to rattle and shake. You've had some difficult times in the last couple of years, and you take it really well. People don't know why that is. I think it's genetics. It's the argument that I have, and so I wanted to start off with something that I didn't tell you I was going to share with people, but we've got some footage of your dad, and it kind of sets the tone for how you knew how to handle problems. That you're not easily rattled or shaken, and I'll let people kind of enjoy this real quick.
Okay.
Come on, get up here. Get up here. Come on. Dinner spot.
Heck no. Hey.
Whoa, look at this.
Man.
Here's Steve's dad.
Big mouth.
Oh my God.
That's a big gator.
Wow. Take it easy. Wow. Oh, you're big baby. Look at
Yeah.
Man, look on this for Mark, man.
So that explains a lot about your love for amphibians. But
I'm out here looking for a real dog.
Yeah, spicy.
how did your dad get so chill around those things?
That's where I learned my hatred for all things with fur.
Got it.
That's the type of pet you need to have, right? I mean, you could put them in the moat around your house. You don't have to worry about the white vans coming to get you at 6 o'clock in the morning.
That is a big gator, though, man.
It really was. That's
Is that
impressive.
actually your dad? I found it on the internet, and I thought it was your dad. Can you confirm or deny that?
No, unfortunately, that is not my dad. But my dad's cool in his own right. He sounds more like somebody out of The Sopranos, and he used to go on business trips up to New Jersey for weeks at a time because he was doing accounting work. So draw what you can from that.
I've seen that movie, The Accountant. That guy kills a bunch of people, and he's autistic. He doesn't sound like he's from The Sopranos. You know who does sound like they're from The Sopranos is this one dude that we used to be kind of friendly with. He gave up more than you did, probably. I want to hear some crying. So we're going to do some crying right now from Fox and Friends. This was yesterday morning before we went live. And so we'll share it today. Here's Dan having a little pity party at the end of his interview with his buddies over on Fox.
I mean, I gave up everything for this. I mean, you know, my wife is struggling. I'm not a victim. I'm not Jim Comey. It's fine. I did this, and I'm proud I did it. But if you think we're there for tea and crumpets, well, I mean, Kash is there all day. We share it. Our offices are linked. He turns on the faucet. I hear it. He's there he gets in at like 6 o'clock in the morning. He doesn't leave till 7 at night. You know, I'm in there at 7:30 in the morning. He uses the gym. I work out in my apartment. But I stare at these 4 walls all day in D.C., you know, by myself, divorced from my wife. Not divorced, but I mean separated, divorced. And it's hard. I mean, you know, we love each other, and it's hard to be apart.
But you're doing some great work. You're straightening out at the FBI. You're moving buildings. There's a lot of change.
I got one more thing.
We should all be so lucky as to have Fox just constantly praising and puffing us up in our low moments, you know?
I mean, I can't help but think about Mrs. O'Boyle having to get up probably earlier than 6 a.m. to take care of the 4 children after 977 days of her husband not getting a paycheck. And look, we're not trying to compare ourselves to anything, but it's really hard to be gainfully employed and doing the thing that you said you were going to do, sort of. So I don't really have the sympathy there. And yeah,
I mean, are you accusing him of just having like tea and crumpets? Is that what's going on?
I mean, it's cutesy time, so tea and crumpets would be appropriate sort of cuisine to accommodate that. But again, I mean, we have to be great, give some grace. We have to wait 628 months, and then we'll see.
By the way,
something.
I dropped that on the guys on Redacted the other day. I sent it off to Clayton Morris, and I was like, our group chat. The joke is that it's the new Bongino rule, 6 to 8 months, but it's not 6 to, it's 6 the number 2 8. I said, I don't know how many years 628 months is, but it feels like it's going to be a lot. And that's how long it took the JFK files to come out, give or take. So that sounds right.
That's pretty on point. Yeah, we're having a precedent here. I think it's like 52 years. So yeah, excellent.
I think it was 60 something. So maybe we could get things faster because we have the internet now. What about those Epstein files? Do you know anything about those?
The Epstein files. What's the answer to that?
The answer to that is the same as everything else. I'm not going to withhold information from the American public ever. But I'm also not going to rush to get it out there in a format in which they can't rely on it. So on the Epstein matter or any other matters, we are diligently working on that, and it takes time.
So how long do you think that's going to take?
I don't know. I find that answer very interesting because I feel like, Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying that there's a chance. Like, I feel like there's some information that can be gleaned from what he said, but
Can you translate government speak? Dana Lash feels hopeful, but she also called Kash Patel and Dan Bongino dumb and dumber. I feel like, did she just do that? Is that what just happened? It's not very nice.
Well, I have to answer this question by restating the question to you so I can filibuster a little bit more. That's
Yes.
very government-esque. It's very bureaucrat-esque, right? The answer to that, Brett, as I'm buying time, is that I'm not going to withhold the information, but
I'm not going to give it to you either.
Withhold the information.
Have you thought about just blaming Jim Comey?
That is tried and true, or you could cite your hiring statistics. Look, my larger theory that I've sort of like shared within our group chats, and I'm kind of pushing out there now, is this is the credibility Ponzi scheme that we're seeing.
All right, Steve, give people the understanding. I actually shared that with someone the other day. I said, the speculation from one of my buddies is the Ponzi scheme, a house of cards built on PR, essentially, yeah?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
explain
so
it.
a Ponzi scheme is an investment scheme where you get people in, say, I'm going to give you a return on investment that's above what you would expect from the normal market, and then people give you money, and then you recruit more people and take that money to pay the original investors. It eventually collapses on itself because you run out of people to keep getting money from to pay the original investors. That's the Ponzi scheme. So let's apply this to what we're seeing here. The promise is we're going to give you the Epstein list. And then it was on our desk, and we had the influencers, and then we all realized, oh, you didn't give it to us. So instead of giving it to us, what you're going to do is make more promises, and we're going to make promises.
There are boxes and truckloads worth of data that are now coming in. Have you ever seen anything transmitted in the FBI via a truckload of boxes? I have one time, so I'm curious if you've ever seen it. I want to give fair play where it is.
As far as casework goes, no. I've never seen boxes of like paperwork unless it was evidentiary, like it was seized from a warehouse or something like that. But as far as like internal work products, there's a reason that they're on software so that you can instantly have access to them wherever you are in an FBI space.
So I heard Dan say in that interview that he was recently out at the facility in Winchester, which I've been to. And I don't know why he's going out there or what he has to do. But one of the things that's at the facility in Winchester that was seized is that in San Francisco, the Russian consulate was shut down a couple of years ago, and they burned everything they could. They PNG'd the entire staff and kicked all the Russians out. And I don't remember what year it was, but for some reason I got asked to show up. This is like one of those stupid things you do when you're like the new guy. I got asked to show up at the airfield where they landed the Bureau plane full of documents they seized from this Russian building. Because they burned everything they could. They shredded everything that they could. The Bureau came in after they kicked everybody out because they had a deadline, and they took everything that was left in the building that wasn't shredded, and they took it in and they made it like part of the CI world. So they had boxes and boxes of paper. That was the actual only time I've ever seen boxes of paper. And it came from the Russians at a consulate in San Francisco that they couldn't destroy enough. So they took it in a caravan. Bro, they took it in a caravan, an armed caravan with like a lead vehicle with like dudes all jocked up like somebody was going to come get it. We're in America for whatever it's worth. There's not like a Russian contingent to like hijack the FBI's vehicle full of armed agents, but that was the way we treated it. So you had like a SWAT lead vehicle and everybody blasted through the toll booths. Like one guy went in there and like talked to the toll guy and was like, raise the flag, we're all rolling through, and everyone rolled through like it was a freaking convoy going out, leaving the green zone. It was silly and bullshit, but that's the only time I've ever seen boxes and truckloads of files. So I do want to be fair. There have been, in history, boxes and truckloads of files that have happened, just not on the Epstein case coming out of New York.
No, I mean, because the documents are all going to be typed documents. They're not banging them out on typewriters like it's back in the 70s, right? And the allusion there to the Russian consulate, that's so FBI, right? Like there was probably untold amounts of damage to us as a country by the Russians, and the FBI did nothing until after the fact, till it was too late to do it. It's very much like how they brag about how they reassembled the fuselage of the airplane on September 11th when they had the hijackers and knew what they were up to, and then, oh, it happened. Oh, sorry, but we'll rebuild the plane because we're that diligent.
Dude, we built the plane again. Not that it does anything. There's no investigative value, but look at it briefs well. That was the thing that my buddy and I used to always joke about when we were at the Bureau. We're like, when someone said something really dumb and you're like, I could see through that because I'm a thinking person. And then they would go like, well, why did they say it? And he would go, well, it probably briefs well. And the answer is,
as long as it fits on a one PowerPoint slide, that is what you go
rebuilt
with.
fuselage. This is what we did. This is the number of man hours. This is what it didn't accomplish. When was Jim Comey the director of the FBI? I'm going to grab the exact years, but do you have off the top of your head?
So he came in right after Mueller's term expired, and Mueller got a 2-year extension, so around 2013.
That's right, spot on. And when did he leave?
He was fired by Donald Trump in the first year of the presidency, so 2017.
May of 2017. And how many years ago was 2017?
I think that's 8 years ago.
It's 8 years ago, maybe 7. Yeah, we're in May right now, so that makes it exactly 8 years. Why are Dan and Kash fixated on Jim Comey? And I have heard zero things about Chris Wray. Do you think?
Well, Chris Wray is not doing what James Comey is, and James Comey's writing his romance novels, and he's playing in the press, and it seems like the media response is the most important thing right now to management in the FBI. Like they're sort of letting the Twitter army drive how they're messaging things. And like ultimately, if you really wanted to handle James Comey, the best thing to do is ignore him, because that would probably reduce his book sales, and just be dismissive of him. Say, hey, look, James Comey can say whatever he wants as a private citizen. I'm not going to respond to that because I'm too busy doing the job that he no longer has. And move on. But
I'm going to play this.
They seem to be very, really angry at James Comey.
Yeah, like a target of opportunity, maybe.
I got to tell you, of all the things that have surprised me in the close to now 3 months I've been here, is the depravity of Jim Comey. This man is a disgrace to the badge, the FBI, and the country. What he's doing right now, one, going out and taking shots at Kash. Kash doesn't belong. Kash was the chief of staff at the Department of. Kash is a patriot. Kash has served in numerous high-level roles, taking personal shots while you're on the beach, implying a threat towards the president and blaming your wife about it. And let me just add about James Comey, Saint Comey, who walks around there moralizing to everyone how wonderful of a human being he is. What you said is absolutely accurate. We have wasted countless man hours now running out tips to our tip line about people putting 8647 because of Jim Comey, because he cannot control himself and his emotions. He is a child.
Yeah, he's a child. That felt really emotional.
That was the most passion we saw. And I think you've said it, that when Dan Bongino is in his podcast setting or his radio setting or his Fox News setting, the most control that you see him is on Fox News, because it's more contrived in the cable news setting. So he was sort of on his, I guess, would you clarify, his best behavior?
Yes,
the most animated
behavior
he got was about James Comey.
I agree. 8647, that comes in to you through a Guardian lead. You're working in your old office. Let's say you're working on child sex trafficking, and then they're like, we got a hot one. A guy posted a picture of shells on the beach, 8647. Steve, you're up. Yeah, you're taking this lead. What's your action?
It's a threat to life, Guardian, probably.
It's a threat to life, Guardian, yeah. Priority has to be responded to immediately. This is coming in hot from headquarters city. Steve Friend, you've received the lead. That's what it is. And it includes a photograph of a social media post, saw a political message on the sand. How interesting. What is your reaction as an FBI agent who actually got threat to lives?
First Amendment protected activity that does not demand resourcing from the FBI. We better get in touch with the assistant special agent in charge so that we can take away the threat to life tag to this and we can close it out.
Okay, not a threat to life, no investigative need. Who's getting pulled off cases to go after that, and why? Why would they do that?
Well, they would do that so they could go on Fox News or on X and make that statement and disparage James Comey and say how he's somehow from the outside as a private citizen dictating the operations of the FBI, which doesn't really speak well of the management that's currently in place there. Because
it screams slow news day to me. Do you get that too? Like, or I don't have a lot to report, so let me go with outrage because people can be mad about something.
And how about the two things that they keep saying statute of limitations. We're going to try to do our best to expose and hold people accountable to the best we can, call them out, but we're really not going to be able to prosecute them. There are two cases that I believe that you can articulate there is no statute of limitations issue on. One would be the Epstein list, the people that were engaging in illicit sexual activity with minor children. No statute of limitations on that. And yet we're kind of like moving on. We're getting more promises to not deal with that. The other one is, if you want to go after James Comey, the honeypot scheme, right, that he perpetrated in 2016. So people say, oh, it's outside statute of limitations. Well, no, because part of the honeypot scheme to infiltrate the Trump campaign and dig up dirt off the books, when it came to somewhat of the media's knowledge, they promoted the two female undercovers who are still in positions in the FBI. I would contend that that's an ongoing conspiracy. Why don't we approach that criminality? Because that has a greater impact on the nation than a picture of seashells.
One would think. That seems reasonable to me too. Again, there are low-hanging fruits that are not being taken. Let's do a quick break over and we'll talk about my friends at Patriot Protect. I'm gonna come back in. We're not gonna do this all show because I've actually got some other little news I want to share with people, only because I think we should look broadly, although I do very much enjoy taking shots at people that are doing weird things and don't make any sense, and especially when it's at 5. Anytime we get a chance to like make fun of legacy, we probably should. Folks, the possibility of China breaching or getting access to your data, they have all kinds of different programs, one of which is DeepSeek. I'm not hearing the FBI talk about that nearly as much. The AI data scoping program or company out of China has suffered massive breaches. They've dumped highly sensitive American records all over the dark webs, including names and email addresses and relatives and work histories and your physical address and other personal details that could be handing cyber criminals everything they need to target you. If you weren't affected, you probably have to think again. You've probably been affected by some leak, whether it was DeepSeek or others, whether it was the OPM hack that Steve and I experienced or others. The Chinese are pretty good at going after a lot of our data. It's not about password leaks. This is the kind of information that criminals will use to impersonate you. They can hijack your accounts. They can destroy your finances. They can take out loans in your names. They can destroy your credit and so on and so forth. Patriot Protect uses the Blackout service to search the dark web, find this information that's out there, see what's been leaked, and then help you remove it from the people search scam sites that scammers are using to hunt for victims. Get your name out of that pile by going to patriot-protect.com/Kyle. Again, it's patriot-protect.com/Kyle. We did a Sunday sit down with the co-founder of this company, and we kind of talked about the Glengarry leads. It's the easiest way to find the good people that are going to have things that they want. If you don't want to be in that pile of Glengarry leads where they can reach out and try and find you or impersonate you, make sure you guys are using some service. The one we use here at the Seraphin household is Patriot Protect. So again, it's patriot-protect.com/KYLE. It costs about the same as keeping your porch light on. You get 15% off when you use our promo code for an annual subscription. Check into something like protect yourself one way or another. That's the answer. Steve, I don't want to only do this, but I do want to talk about things. How about secrets? How about like leaks? How about secret rooms and files? And again, are they doing it on typewriters? That was my question. I'm going to get your reaction to this. That's why I brought up the plane load of boxes earlier. We'll take one more shot. This is fun.
Wait till you read the stuff that's coming out.
Does he still have loyalists in the building? Because when I hear the FBI director saying, you guys are finding boxes that are hidden, okay, how does that happen in the Bureau?
Well, we were there a couple of weeks, and luckily there were a lot of people up there who grabbed us by the arm the minute we came in and said, thank you for being here. You know, we need to talk. There are people there who are really horrified at what happened. And there was a room, and we found stuff, a lot of stuff.
A hidden room.
I wouldn't call it hidden, but hidden from us at least and not mentioned to us. And then we found stuff in there, and a lot of it's from the Comey era, and we are working our damnedest right now to declassify. And just so you know, because I get the public, I totally understand people saying, well, do it now. The process is not all the information is ours to declassify. Some.
Go.
All right. Okay. So much to get to. All right. So here's what we know. We arrived, and people who pulled us aside, the people who have been there for years, and what we know about them is they just followed orders, said, we're really on your team right now, and we're going to show you this room that has been kept from you, even though you've just arrived. We'll show you this room.
What are the odds that anybody came up and said, thank God you're here, to Kash and Dan?
100%.
It did happen or it didn't happen?
100% happened. Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, they weren't being like authentic and honest.
Got it.
They're snakes that say that, right?
Okay.
And
I'm tracking.
They start the process of getting the coils around them and say, we're going to show you this this contrived secret room that you don't know about, and now you know all the secrets. Well, what do you know about the person showing you that room? That's the same person putting the 100 level 10 things on your desk every single day. Who's to say that they haven't showed you all the other rooms? And then when we're talking about secret rooms that don't exist, I guess it's Abbott and Costello, hold that ghost, pull the lamp down, and you can get access to the secret room inside the Hoover building. The only secret room that I've ever seen in the FBI is in Hogan's Alley, where they put the role player so that when you walk by, they pop out of the secret room and shoot you in the back of the head, so that they can create a training scar so that for the rest of your career, unless you're prior law enforcement or military or just someone with an above room temperature IQ, you assume at all times someone's going to pop out and shoot you in the back of the head.
That's right. They really do that, people. They built a secret like trapdoor room that folds into the wall, and some guy comes out of a bookshelf and he's like, aha! Like, gotcha. Like, that's a real thing in the world. Oh, that's so funny. I forgot about that. And then people do crazy things like check behind bookshelves for doors that don't exist, or assume everything is like a Murphy door that's hiding. My buddy actually does have a Murphy door in his house. It's actually really cool. But you would know it's there because when you walk into the house, there's like a door, and then there's a window on the right, which goes to the living room, and there's a window on the left, which goes to the hidden office, but there's a window to it, so you know there's a room there, and when you open it up, there's a bookshelf and no way to get to that room. And the bookshelf folds out, you know?
It's still fun. I mean,
it's
I'd like
cool.
to have
Yeah,
a
like, I love
secret
it.
compartment. We built a little like storage area underneath our staircase just for like Christmas decorations. And my kids were hanging out in there. They're like, it's a secret passageway.
That's right.
Like,
Everybody wants a secret
you're
passage.
Harry Potter under my stairs. Don't tell child services.
Let me give you the analogy that occurred to me as we were talking about the guy coming up, grabbing the arm and showing them the secret room. It goes back to the Disney movie Aladdin. And when Jafar, the Grand Vizier, I don't even know why I know all these things, but anyway, the Grand Vizier to the Sultan, right? He wants somebody who's a diamond in the rough to go into the Cave of Wonders. Dude, why do I know the name of all these things? This is really troubling me right now.
Let's start talking about Iago and Agrabah.
Who was voiced by Gilbert Gottfried, which is amazing. It's like the only children's movie Gilbert Gottfried could ever be in. That guy was filthy. So Jafar is dressed like an old man in rags, right? And he goes up and he grabs like the young Aladdin and he goes like, this will take you to a place of wonders or whatever, and wild riches, whatever. And the kid's like, oh, amazing. Like, I'm going to go do that. And then he's duped because there's like a nefarious actor that's involved in this. That's the guy that just came up and grabbed. And what did we call that? We had a name for people trying to get their hooks into the director and the deputy director. We had a name for it before they even went there that we told them about.
I've just always got my snakes, but I mean,
they're bubble wrapping them. This is the bubble wrap. The bubble wrap is we're going to give you the level 10s. We're going to give you fake things. Meanwhile, I've actually had people call me up and say, there are dudes sitting in the meetings right now with Kash and Dan around the table during the briefings that are texting each other and laughing at them because they're laying out priorities which they know are not going to go anywhere. And they're giving them bait, and they're taking the bait and going places that they're not going to be doing.
They're briefing them up, and they're saying, hey, look, we have these high priority cases. We're going to give you a status every single day on these high priority cases, which is why you get Dan Bongino telling Maria Bartiromo, do you want the bomb to go off in New York or Washington, D.C.?
Is there a bomb that will go off? That's the question to you.
That's not your job as a deputy director. You're 15 derivatives away from the brick agent who's actually working that case. I mean, you shouldn't know the intricate details. I mean, after the fact, if it's something that's that high priority, or that you would, I guess, get the sort of the wave tops of the case, but there's 15 degrees of separation away from the agent working the case. Do you really believe the director of the FBI is going to come up with a new and novel concept that case agent has not come up with and say, hey, you know what you should do? You should go conduct an interview. But they are on the outside, and they are being told by the people bubble wrapping them that this is what the director does every day. They're being told about the highest priority cases in the FBI, and unless you know everything about them, then that bomb's going to go off.
Let me also add this. Who was the last deputy director of the FBI?
Paula Bate.
How many people in America know Paula Bates' name or face?
Unless you're on this audience, none.
Right. Okay. That's all I'm getting at. Who was the one before that?
I can't remember his name. He was actually the guy who had the Tommy gun mask. What's his name?
Yeah, Bowditch.
Yes,
right?
Bowditch.
David Bowditch. How many people could pick David Bowditch out of a lineup?
I couldn't. The only thing I know about him is that his had a Tommy gun mask on his face, because I didn't interface with the deputy director ever.
How many interviews did Paula Bate and David Bowditch do in the entirety of their tenure?
Well, as deputy directors, I would say 0 as far as subject interviews, and as far as public-facing interviews. I know that
how many news media interviews? That's what I meant, sorry.
0. I mean, testifying to Congress, I guess, is probably the most public-facing thing that Paula Bate ever did.
Okay. How many interviews has Dan Bongino done as deputy director in 15 minutes? That's my question.
He's done the one on Fox and Friends on the curvy couch.
Yep.
He did the Maria Bartiromo one as well. So now 2 in the last 8 days.
Okay, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm getting the order correctly. Yes, and before David Bowditch, you know who it was?
Was it Andy McCabe?
It was Andy McCabe. So everybody knows one deputy director only because he was the acting director, and he was put in before Chris Wray, and he was fired for lying to the FBI. David Bowditch retired on a Friday. Sounds like a nursery rhyme. He retired on a Friday with no warning or heads up. He just disappeared one day. He dropped like 15-minute notice. I'm no longer deputy director. Have a great weekend. Adios, bros. Then he was out. Then Paula Bate came in and did his thing. The fact of the matter is that nobody knows who the deputy director is because he's busy running the FBI. He's not doing Fox and Friends. I mean,
it cannot be emphasized enough, the levels of separation that you have, even within the FBI. Like, brick agents might say, I don't know who the deputy director is, and that's completely reasonable.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Who's the deputy? No idea.
The agent who reports to the supervisory special agent, who reports to the ASAC, who reports to the SAC, who reports to the ADIC, and then you go over to headquarters, you get the program manager, the assistant section chief, the section chief, the assistant unit chief, the unit chief, the deputy assistant director, the assistant director, the executive assistant director, the associate deputy director, the deputy director, and the director.
Nobody knows the org chart of the FBI in the FBI for the first several years unless they've had to actually learn it. And the only reason why you and I have such a grasp on it is because we were trying to figure out how to smash the damn thing.
That's basically it. We didn't really study the org chart until
I don't think I could have told you
what needs to go.
I don't think I could have told you the FBI's org chart, and I worked there for 6 years, and I worked in the area where those idiots were. Like, I knew people who were EADs. I knew people that were ADs, and I couldn't have told you the difference between them, the difference between a branch and a division. And the reason why is because it doesn't matter, because somebody is running all that crap, and it gets down to you, the brick agent, who's supposed to be doing the work. And the reason why, in theory, somebody is not going to like have something explode is because theoretically you're actually doing your job, and you're not waiting for like the deputy director to tell you whether or not it's cool to do your job or not.
This was the legend of Bob Mueller, was that he was such a micromanager that, you know, it's an urban legend, probably untrue, but it was best sort of encapsulates the amount of micromanaging that man did as the director, where there was apparently a surveillance question, should we take action? Should we arrest the bad guy? And so they asked the boss, who asked the boss, who asked the boss, and went all the way up to the director. And the follow-on was, what color is the car, from Bob Mueller.
And then it goes back down.
Yes.
I've also heard that Bob Mueller wouldn't talk to certain people if he didn't like their tie, that he would literally just not acknowledge their presence in the room. Like that's the story. All of that comes down to this, because this story came out yesterday. FBI was touting their work. We're going to go through it today, you and me together. Actually, let me first say thanks to the guys at Blackout Coffee, because I am clearly charged up right now. And that I actually had my wife bring me a cup of coffee as I was screwing up the intro. So that's pretty good. We'll just do it real quick here, folks. Blackout Coffee, company we've been telling you about for, I don't know, a couple months now. They are a now staple in the Seraphin household, and we buy them in poundage. We do the 5-pound bags. Listen, it's not just another coffee company. It's a company that was built on hard work and grit and American values and things that you can appreciate. Founders who created a company the same way we created this podcast. They did it in a home garage. We did it in a little trailer. They built it up to a 64,000 square foot warehouse. That's a lot of square footage. You could probably put a lot of FBI files in a 64,000 square foot warehouse and then show the deputy director. Anyway, they're roasting all their beans in-house. They're packing them all themselves. They're employing over 30 hardworking Americans with no corporate nonsense, just a damn good cup of coffee made by people who do, in fact, give a damn. We're not just talking about a great cup of coffee, although that's what you're seeing made on the screen right there. That's the French press. By the way, I did a screwy thing the other day. I bought myself a new electric kettle and I did glass right after telling you guys, I think yesterday, that glass when you are not fully functional and not caffeinated is a dumb idea. I went and did that thing. So anyway, I'm kind of a dummy sometimes. They built this company up, no shortcuts, hopefully no broken glass as they're destroying things. They actually use metal, which is smart. I just saw that. Hard work, real values. Coffee that gets you moving. It's blackoutcoffee.com/KYLE. Again, blackoutcoffee.com/KYLE. Just spell it out, blackoutcoffee.com. Use that promo code KYLE, Kyle, to save 20% off your first order. Help them keep the American dream alive. Keep your American dream alive. Support American companies that are drinking real coffee, that are putting you on the move. That's it. Don't drink weak coffee. Take a kick in the beans. I said kick in the beans one time, Steve, and I really liked the way that sounded. I don't know if they should adopt that, but nobody really wants to get kicked in the beans, but it would wake you up.
Yeah, I think it would be sort of a...
Even if your wife like rolled over and just tapped you in the beans while you were asleep, like you'd be up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and...
As much as coffee.
That would either put you like in a fetal position for the rest of the day, but you would be cognitive. Like,
not if you're wearing those jammers, bro. You have your boys girded for war. Let me read this story for you before you worried about your girded loins.
I need edged weapons.
Yeah, you do. You need to protect yourself from your new admirer with the man bun. An IT specialist employed by the DIA, that's the Defense Intelligence Agency, was arrested for attempting to transmit national defense information to an officer or agent of a foreign government. Have you read this yet?
I have.
Okay, so you've already cheated. The guy's name is Nathan Latsch, Laatsch. He's 28, of Alexandria, Virginia, where they all live. The young IT bros, whatever. He was arrested in Northern Virginia, and he will make his initial court appearance today. It says tomorrow, but they're talking about today, Friday. According to court documents, he became a civilian employee of the DIA in 2019. He works in the Insider Threat Division.
Perfect.
Bro, he holds a TS clearance. Tell people what Insider Threat Division is. I'm dying with this one because I just went back and searched my own documents, and I was reported to Insider Threat. I believe you were reported to Insider Threat because we were all Insider Threats. Meanwhile, the thing Insider Threat's supposed to do is actually being done by a dude who works at the Insider Threat. You cannot make this stuff up. Fire away. Tell people what it is.
I mean, that's Robert Hansen is the perfect example of the Insider Threat. That's the person who takes sensitive material and offers it to a bad actor in a foreign state. So you receive training on identifying red flags for these type of people, and you can notify the Insider Threat office so they can conduct a thorough investigation to find out if maybe this person's up to something that's no good. But when they're actually engaged in the activity, who's policing the police? So this is sort of where he was placed in the perfect position, I guess you would think, to orchestrate this sort of scheme, because who's watching him? He's supposed to be doing the watching.
Yeah, who watches the watchers? Well, let me tell you who watches the watchers. The FBI is on the case. And so the FBI commenced an operation in March after receiving a tip that this individual, now known to be Lash, offered to provide classified information to a friendly foreign government. Tip to anybody: if you go to our allies, they are much more incentivized to turn you in than they are to accept classified material from you. And they also are monitoring your comms in some way, shape, or form. So that was smart. So in an email, he wrote to a senator that he did not agree or align with the values of this administration. This is the definition of deep state and action. And therefore, he was willing to share classified information, which he had access to. Of course, the foreign ally did not respond in that way. So who would step in to do that job, Steve Friend?
Would be an online covert employee of the FBI pretending to be a member of the friendly government.
After multiple communications with an FBI agent online who Lash allegedly believed was an official of a foreign government or the foreign government, he began transcribing information on a notepad from his desk over approximately 3 days, repeatedly exfiltrating the information from his workspace. He subsequently confirmed to the FBI agent that he was prepared to transmit that information. So the FBI implemented an operation in a public park in Northern Virginia where they set up what I will describe as a dead drop with a flash drive or a thumb drive, which contained messages and typed documents, each containing information that was portion marked up to secret or top secret. He said that he had chosen a decent sample size of the classified information to, quote unquote, decently demonstrate the range of types of products which he had access to. National security was never in danger. He was giving it to FBI agents. I mean, good.
Zero problem with this. This is the playbook, right?
Right. That's
but
the playbook.
This is part of continuous vetting of employees, right? So I have no problem with them doing this for a couple reasons. One, because this guy shouldn't be working for the federal government.
Right.
And I don't think that he was originally tapped on the shoulder even by a confidential human source. He went to a foreign government and actually engaged in that activity, started the process himself. And then also, I've contended forever, the playbook really only works on low IQ people, like the retards, right? So if we're going to be continuously vetting people, they should probably not be retarded and working for the federal government. So now we've gotten somebody who's willing to betray the government and he's low intelligence. Like everybody wins.
Everybody wins. This is what your FBI should be doing.
Do you think they used the same park on him that they used on Hansen?
Yes, because it's probably close to the office. But let's be real. Why did he not just bring a box of documents? I heard the FBI likes to deal in boxes of documents. And thank you to our chat for pointing that out to me.
He could have gone and pulled down on the lamp and gotten like a couple of those boxes and brought them with him.
The banker boxes that are full of the files that were not properly digitized.
And then he would have put them in FedEx and sent them off to Israel.
Yeah. Just wrap them up.
Probably
with
would
some
have used
kind of
the FBI's contract with FedEx to do it too.
Hey, that's a really cheap way to send things. The government has a really good contract with that kind of stuff. Anyhow, this is what they should be doing. The crazy thing is that this Office of Insider Threat was spending a lot of its time over the last several years targeting people who were of political dissident, and now they're actually targeting a guy who's a political dissident, but actually was willing to betray the country over it. There's no allegations that people like me or you or Marcus, we actually talked to somebody who was a whistleblower in the Office of Insider Threat for the FBI looking for Robert Hansen in Steve Friend's emails, in Kyle Seraphin's emails, in Garrett O'Boyle's emails. They went looking for Robert Hansen and they found exactly zero spies, zero people willing to betray the country, almost like everything we said was always about the Constitution. Meanwhile, this a-hole at 28, doesn't that tell you something? Does the age kind of indicate anything to you too?
Well, and he's 28, and the initial thing happened in 2019, so you got to subtract 6 years.
Well, that's when he started working there, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's the perfect age demographic because they are bringing in these young communists that are going to do 20 years at least in government service. That's the full life cycle of a government worker. And you have to go back to James Comey, right? So James Comey gets in 2013, which means that people right now that were hired during Comey's tenure are right in the middle of their career path. So you got another decade of dealing with these people, and they've elevated themselves to those upper echelons of leadership now, like the people that are 10, 12, 14 years in the FBI hired by Comey. They're now running things over at the Hoover building. They're the dyed-in-the-wool communists, as it was exposed here. And you can see how they weaponized these processes, and they got distracted. They weren't looking for this sort of this person willing to betray the country, but instead they were doing what Michael Schellenberger was reporting, which is what we've been talking about for 3 years, and saying hey, anybody that didn't want to get the COVID jab, they're probably an insider threat because they're a domestic violent extremist. Let's turn the mechanisms on those people so we can purge them out of the government and instead hire these people.
Those people are the Grand Vizier Jafar that are taking folks by the arm and rolling in and showing the room of the secret cave of wonders at the Bureau. Wouldn't that make sense? And by the way, they hired this kid right out of college. He was 22 years old when they hired him out.
I'm sure he went through an internship, which is highly sought after because they get that security clearance and they can kind of punch their ticket anywhere they want.
Yeah. This is so it's almost like, and I'm hearing this, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, Steve, but it's kind of like you're saying that personnel is policy.
I think we need to have total personnel warfare in order to actually properly have a hostile takeover of an organization, as opposed to going in and saying hearts and minds, not shock and awe. We're going to be the cool boss, because our default presupposition is erroneous that there are just so many good men and women of the FBI who rigorous obedience to the Constitution is their prime directive, and they're not the people that are just walking up to you saying, I really am glad that you're here, sir, because for all these years I've wanted these things to happen, even though I was in a position to make them happen, or at least throw the flag. I didn't.
Can I read you something about insider threat? Because this is really funny. I looked this up this morning. This is my former ASAC. His name is Eric Brown Jr. He retired. He lives in New Mexico, as far as I'm aware. He said, quote, I was aware that during an April 1st, 2022 firearms training session, Kyle Seraphin reportedly had a firearms safety incident while at the firearms range. According to employee complaints filed, the shooting on the line had ceased, and when the FI went downrange, Seraphin intentionally shot at the FI's target and began laughing. The FBI also reported the incident to Chief Security Officer Garcia and the PFI, Michael Copeland, who was involved in a negligent discharge in the middle of a SWAT operation. I'm adding that part, but he shot at a lady because she had colorful nails and she was black in Baltimore. The FBI paid them out. With the reporting by the FI advised Seraphin took action, which raised safety concerns and believed it was not malicious, but it was intentional and careless. Seraphin fired at a time when he was instructed not to do so, fired on an FI's target, and did so while someone was moving forward of his position. The SAC is aware of the incident, and I made the decision. We referred the incident to the Office of Insider Threat, but I don't know what the status is.
That doesn't make sense that they would hand it off to insider threat.
Right. What are the odds that somebody...
doesn't mean you're sharing information with Russia. I mean, if anything, it would be like a OPR, Office of Professional Responsibility, or something to that effect.
I just think it's so funny because we have evidence in my files of like how they used this office previously. By the way, I hit that guy's target exactly where I aimed, and he was shooting at the same time because he was standing next to me. The funniest thing is, can you imagine? I just want you to picture in your head, because you were on a lot of SWAT range times, and now FBI SWAT is famous for shooting each other more than they are shooting bad guys, but...
Very accurately.
Yeah, but there is a lot of shooting that goes on, right? Like compared to regular agents.
Sure. You train and you're probably shooting 2 to 3 times a month versus 3 or 4 times a year.
A year, yeah. I'm going to buy that. Okay, so imagine that you're doing a drill where starting in the line, all the way at one end, somebody gets a timer, beep, they shoot a target. Then the next person's up, beep, they shoot a target. Next person's up, beep, they shoot a target. And then it goes down to the FI, who's a former championship pistol shooter at West Point, who's not on SWAT, or maybe he just got on SWAT at the time, I think. Super good guy, pretty chill, junior to you. And it goes beep, and he goes.
He takes forever because he's
right,
a
on a
champion
7-yard target. Yeah, he wants to put like a tiny little, dime-sized group from his AR instead of like pop-up shots like we're doing from low ready. So the third time that he does that and takes like time, the guy next to him, whose name is Seraphin and doesn't care about a lot of things because he's just been kicked out of the office for COVID and for whistleblowing and a bunch of other stuff, decides to shoot his target, which is, by the way, 100% in front of him and off by like less than 10 degrees. It's like still within the cone. And I just went beep, and I put one outside of the bubble. So he had like a really tiny little group and one miss where I shot just over the left shoulder of the target. That's what happened. That's what that story was about. And then Jennifer Moore said I shot at somebody's head when it got to the telephone of that EAD. Now that we know what the chain of command looks like, and you and I laugh. Like, what did that telephone game look like? That it went to insider threat, and that means that Kyle's working for the Russians or the whatever.
It's best summed up in the opening statement from your ASEC there. I was aware. It doesn't mean that you have firsthand knowledge. It just means that you were briefed up by somebody, because it briefed really well for them to say that you shot at somebody's head so that they could justify sending it off to insider threat because you were the problem. And those sorts of things happen all the time, especially like in a firearm setting. If everybody is safe. That's not an unsafe thing to do. It's actually funny when you have a guy who's trying to have a perfect target that you just turn and fire and make it look like you threw around.
I used to occasionally at Quantico, I would lose a point on my target to screw up my buddy's target, which was like a little golf ball sized group that he was such a good shooter. It was stupid. So I would just go beep and just put one outside the bubble, and they had one miss because you can't count all the holes that are ripped through.
Worth it.
Totally worth it. Okay, let's talk about heroes. That's not a hero thing. How about this story, which I think actually does need a lot of coverage, and we're going to cover it here. Trump decided to pardon an Army officer, a guy named formerly Mark Bashaw. Or Bashaw. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. We may actually try to get Mark on the program. I have a contact with him through Rob Green. He pardoned an Army officer, and the way that the Military Times wrote this thing up, which is truly disgusting. Military Times, this is a story written by Leo Shane III, who never served in the military, and decided to call out a lieutenant who did the right thing. He's very upset about the clemency that Trump offered this guy. He was a former first lieutenant. The pardon was announced on social media. Trump said that he took a stand against tyranny, which is accurate. That's exactly what he did. He posted a picture referencing conspiracy theories that COVID-19 was a virus planned at an event by globalist elites for unspecified nefarious reasons. That was actually included in the Military Times story. And then they went and they said that the real reason he was suspended is because he refused COVID mitigation protocols, was court-martialed, and discharged from the Army in 2023. Got a little interview with him here. We're going to play just a little subset so you guys can see. This is what people who actually went through something. This is not like my wife and I now live in an apartment in D.C. and I'm a multimillionaire. This is someone who actually went through the ringer, kind of like the Suspendables. So like I said, I want to try to get this guy on. Let's just listen to him talk a little bit on OAN.
There were no FDA-approved injections available for service members, and so there's a statutory law that comes along with that in the fact that service members must be given the option to accept or refuse. So I was communicating that up my chain of command, and then largely for the unvaccinated service members, we'll call them, they began to weaponize the testing protocols against the service members who had religious convictions, such as myself. So basically what they did was all the service members who were quote unquote unvaccinated, in order to obtain access to their place of duty, they would have to participate with the emergency use authorized testing kits to show a negative result before they could go perform their duties. Highly discriminatory and highly unlawful given the fact that even the testing kits weren't FDA approved, and by federal statute, a service member again must be given the option to accept or refuse
so
those
since
products.
you refused the vaccine and you didn't get the testing, I guess, right?
Right.
So what happened?
So then I was communicating this protected communication up my chain of command. There was a staff judge advocate by the name of Colonel Yevgeny Vindman, who then decided to press charges against me, bring it forth to a court-martial.
Yevgeny Vindman?
Yevgeny Vindman.
Vindman is very familiar for some reason.
Yeah, so that's the twin brother of Alexander Vindman, the colonel. Apparently they were both
who drove the impeachment of the former president.
That's correct. So after they got removed from the White House, he went to Aberdeen Proving Grounds to be the staff judge advocate for my.
That's wild.
Is that not wild?
I mean, all these intersections of all these same people that have
Why
been
does
doing...
everybody say the same exact words? I've never met that guy, but you could have taken that right out of my whistleblower disclosures and my complaints.
And here's something that's just worth pointing out. I mean, he cites the fact that the FDA hadn't approved either the test or the vaccine, which is why he shouldn't have been subject to having to use either one or put either one into his body. But this all goes back to the reasonable accommodation, right? You put in the reasonable accommodation request and say, I would like to not put that experimental gene juice in my arm, and I would like to not have to do these mitigation strategies. Can that be accommodated? Is it reasonable for you? Is it reasonable for me that it's not going to interfere with the workflow? But they purposely did those things so that they could say, well, if he has to go through these loops, and you know what? It's just not reasonable. It's going to be disruptive to our workforce. So he either has to comply or he's gone. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. And that's
that guy sounds like an insider threat from what I heard. He sounds like he's not going to just go along with whatever the regime says. He might be an insider threat too, don't you think?
Look, he doesn't represent what the American people should want in their military or their FBI, which is somebody who can raise concerns, but at the end of the day, they just followed orders. And then when the new guys got there, they just tapped him in the arm and said, thank goodness you're here. Let me show you the secret rooms.
The way that you're going to be able to do really good work, I think, as an FBI director is probably promoting people that do the right thing, like follow orders and do what they're told. Is that what your experience has been?
To find what the good FBI employee is.
Yeah, the one who does what the FBI wants them to do. The one that Jafar would be willing to, show somebody, come along with me. We're going to show the new deputy director the room, the secret room of wonders.
Like
of typed up of typewriter documents.
J6 warlords. I mean, the Driz. They seem to have benefited quite mightily from actually just either following orders or refusing to follow the orders that were inconvenient for the institution.
So Mark Bashaw, He was prosecuted by Vindman's brother. Like
isn't he a congressman now too?
Yeah, he is. That dude is a real piece of shit. Like I cannot resist saying that. That is objectively the case. What a useless person. Anyway, he was actually tried and convicted and removed from the army. So Trump just pardoned him. You know, I'm glad that it happened. It also seems like way too slow. Like that seems, this is something I got into it. I talked to Tim Kennedy at my house yesterday. And one of the things that he was saying is like, our timeline is not their timeline. Our priorities are not their priorities. Is that fair to give some grace there? Like the thing that like it's your priority to see Garrett O'Boyle reinstated is my priority, but I can imagine that that's not something that rises to the level that Donald Trump is aware of at this point.
No, and I wouldn't expect that for the president. My point in quibbling with the timeline is when I hear things like, we made a great amount of progress on this, and the progress is like, hey, we sat around a conference room table and agreed to come back at a conference room table a month from now to maybe like re-examine these facts and circumstances, when they're not taking into consideration that there's people's lives that are completely in limbo and they're starving. They're starving. Garrett O'Boyle has not been paid, and he's an FBI employee at this point.
Allegedly,
yeah. 977 days. Christopher Wray laughed at the very prospect that he would have to go 6 months without a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming up on 1,000 days.
And
Kash
that's
Patel will
why
hit his 100th day at the FBI next week.
Has he not already done that? I thought he did.
February 21st, I think we're coming up on.
Oh yeah, was that when he was lying about the Stu Peters thing under oath, the 20th?
The 20th was I
you
guess
saw what we played yesterday. Yes,
sworn in the 21st.
Should we just refer people to go back? I don't want to play all those clips again, but I do want to have people. If you think it's okay, is it okay for the FBI director to have lied during confirmation because we needed him in? Is that acceptable? Would that have flown with you if he was like, "Hey, dude, we're gonna have to lie about our associations that I knew you"?
No, it would never be acceptable.
How do you lead an organization that can remove people for lack of candor, including guys like me? Because that's on my paperwork, by the way. Lack of candor, not under oath, about a joke that I told my boss. Legitimately. Like, I winked and was like, ah. I did one of those. And that was a lack of candor. And you're going to have the guy who's in front of the FBI running it that lied to Dick Durbin and others.
How do you lead an organization that puts people in prison, saying that they lied to us, even though we don't have it on recording, which just are contemporaneous reflections on having talked to this person, but you should trust us because we have integrity, even though we lied during the confirmation hearing.
It's really hard for me to buy that one. It's why I like what Ed Martin has been saying, which is that continue to put pressure on. You can always add pressure. You could always try to, speed up the timeline. People should be out there calling out like their priorities, because that's, for whatever it's worth, I think that is that PR Ponzi scheme you talked about. I think that's why we have Dan Bongino on Fox on the Curvy Couch. It's because people are demanding information and they're going out and trying to get ahead of it. It would be better if they just shut up and did the job. Like I said that to somebody the other day. Aaron Stevenson reached out to me and he was like, he was just laughing. He was laughing hysterically and it was hard to understand what he said. But he said, you told them to stop doing interviews. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, stop doing interviews. Just do the job, man. Let your work speak for itself. That would be the thing that I think normal people would say.
And you have to actually have some awareness of what your job is. And it's not making promises, even outside of the interview context. It's not promising big, transparent data dumps, right? That can be an outgrowth, but you could go a long way towards gaining the trust and gaining the grace and the timeline towards the 6 to 8 months goal that you obviously have for yourself. If you did things that were like, I don't know, getting rid of the intelligence collection. Let's actually push out people from the Washington, D.C. headquarters, not just like the expiring TDY people who are going back to their home offices anyway.
Right.
And going to, well, you said you needed 20 people in a skiff to run the FBI. Well, you should probably just start with that. Like, let's do that. Let's reinstate Garrett O'Boyle. Like, those are like a very achievable, could be done by close of business today things.
Mm-hmm.
And
no, he could report on Monday.
Yeah, then you wouldn't have the pushback on, hey, where's the Epstein list? Hey, what's the status of the pipe bomber case? And you wouldn't have to keep making promises about like the Supreme Court Dobbs decision leak, which isn't a crime, or the White House cocaine, which was investigated probably very poorly, but already investigated by Secret Service. Why are we continuing to make these promises? Because it's the Ponzi scheme. We got to buy back. We got to push that extension a little bit further, a little bit further. It's like the climate pagans who say the world is going to end, and then you say, well, you said it was going to end by today, and it hasn't yet. Well, give it 10 more years. Give it 628 more months.
Technically. Didn't we play the technically the last time you were on?
Yes. Yes. Seamus is very talented.
He really is talented. I want to play a couple other little interesting little things here. I had this Joe Rogan clip, and I think this is the reason why we have the flexibility to push, quote unquote, on our own side, because I want to see things. It's because the people on the other side are such a freaking mess. This is, well, let's do this one. This was a scandal, allegedly. I'm going to leave you on the screen here for this. This was a scandal about Susie Wiles. This is the kind of scandal that the White House is dealing with. Not that the guy that's in charge of the White House is completely inept and unable to think and that somebody else is running it. It's that someone hacked one of the phones. I don't know enough about Susie Wiles one way or another, but I do know that if somebody hacked the phone and if you got a text message from someone claiming to be a person that you actually knew in real life saying, hey, let's go to Telegram and share some information, normal people would be like, okay, retard, I'm not doing that. This is the story. And they're trying to spin this like this is actually a big deal. Hold on, let me first show you the headline. I think I actually have a headline for it. Boop. There it is. Authorities probe efforts to impersonate Trump's chief of staffs. So it's an impersonation situation, and here it is.
Sources tell CBS News an unknown person or people got access to Chief of Staff Susie Wiles' personal cell phone and used her contacts to reach out to other top officials and then asked if the conversation could be continued on another platform. Now, some of the recipients of these calls and texts realized that the messages were suspicious because they came from an unknown number. And then Wiles explained to those people that her phone had been hacked. Now, this isn't the first time the administration has had an issue with cyber.
I'm going to hold it right there. They realized it, these people, because they had more than a room temperature IQ, that a random number claiming to be someone that they actually knew in real life and actually had saved as a contact was not the person reaching out to them. Unnamed sources said, unwilling to go on record.
Yeah, because they don't want to go on record and telling the news, what they're leaking this to, that Susie Wiles' contact list involves people that all have above room temperature IQs, because that's sort of the pool she's swimming in.
Okay, well, let's go on to the other scandal, because if we can tie this to a previous scandal, then we might really have something here, Steve.
Security. Back in March, top officials shared messages with a journalist over Signal accidentally. In response to this incident regarding Wiles, a White House official says, quote, the White House takes the cybersecurity of all staff very seriously, and this matter continues to be investigated.
So there we go. So it's going to be investigated. And by the way, the FBI is involved.
Of course, they have to be involved in everything that's on a headline right now. I never remember the calls for the FBI to investigate all things at all times. They're not the magic police. Spoiler alert, okay? Go back to the Kavanaugh thing, right? He allegedly sexually assaulted a woman at a time that she can't say, at a location that she can't say. So the FBI, though, is going to investigate that. We don't have pixie dust and magic wands.
They didn't properly investigate that, Steve. They didn't properly investigate the sexual assault allegations. Brett Kavanaugh's.
It's not a federal crime.
Yeah. What is the nexus there?
And even to the... Look, they're going to try to criticize the president. That's what the media typically should do. They should hold the president, they should hold government accountable at all times. But we have a communist media, so they're trying to pivot away from the fact that their op that was, we're going to run protection for Joe Biden, gets exposed. And even the expose on Joe Biden was an op to criticize Donald Trump. Jake Tapper has not had an aha moment. He's had a lucrative career hiding for Joe Biden, and then now having an expose on Joe Biden where he'll make money. And really what it's going to boil down to at the end of it is, we should apply these standards to Donald Trump because we need to just move on from
It's almost
Joe
like you
Biden.
saw Gutfeld's opening. I'm going to share a little bit of his monologue because it's pretty funny. And I think the revelation is actually more than what Greg Gutfeld found out. But he is pretty funny about this. Apparently, he's also checking out people's boxers. He might be the next guy in the pool with you. So keep an eye out for Gutfeld, brother.
So the media's been trying to blame the White House for lying to them about Joe Biden's sorry state. But like the hole that I drilled in our green room bathroom, Americans see right through it. Nice boxers, Dean.
Thank you.
According to Rasmussen, 63% of voters say major media were not fooled and instead helped cover it all up. And 72% rate the cover-up of Biden's mental meltdown as a, quote, serious scandal. That's huge. You couldn't get 72% of Americans to agree on anything, except maybe that kill meat sucks. I know, he does. Okay, we get it. So what's their second spin? Make it about Trump's health, not Biden's.
President Trump, while he appears healthy, he has not been transparent about his health records. And I think that that's something that the American people have a right to.
While we didn't know that much about Joe Biden's health, we know even less about Donald Trump's health. He was completely untransparent during the 2023-2024 campaign. He has not been transparent since, and there is no mechanism forcing him or any future president to being transparent about their health. He could be on anything. We really have no idea.
Well, yes, you do, you ass! We didn't know much about Biden's health, but we know even less about Trump's. Dude, we see Trump every single day.
You're making a face. I had to come back to you because you were making a face.
It's spot on. And look, Gutfeld actually, man, this is going back 2.5 years. So my name came out, and they tried to catalog what happened to me per Miranda Devines, and they said, Steve Friend walked into the office and they took his gun and then his badge and credentials. And Gutfeld said it's probably a good idea that they took the gun first.
Yeah.
And so I've always liked his brand of comedy.
He's good, but his conclusion to that monologue was that it's not about Trump. It's always been about Biden, and it's like, no, it's not. It's actually all about the media. It's really the media that revealed themselves. Joe Biden was just like Joe Biden didn't even know he was there. You're accurate. No one has picked up on your Roomba analogy yet, and I'm really disappointed. I'd like to see that on a bigger stage.
Is spot on. Like, I'm all about the funny labels for politicians, and I am completely bipartisan. Governor Hot Wheels is awesome.
Governor Hot Wheels is awesome.
Line.
I think if Trump had caught on to the human Roomba situation with Biden, he would have taken it. But he might not know what a Roomba is.
It would have been fantastic.
When was the last time that Donald Trump has not vacuumed a floor ever since the first time I did it in Trump Tower when we moved in? Like he did do that one like apprentice thing or like Meet the Boss, right? When he was like vacuuming and said it was hard.
Right. Yeah, he came in as a janitor. Yep.
he used a vacuum at least once because it was on film.
In the moments where Joe Biden was not senile, do you think he would ever have the humility to do an SNL skit where he made fun of himself?
And did like Joe Biden's House of Wings? It would have been like Joe Biden's House of Influence because he doesn't have a real business and he never bought a real business. But no, I don't think he did. He didn't have that. Yeah, there's a self-effacing humor in there.
That's why the guy who craps on a golden toilet is still just adored by the masses.
He showed up on SNL to do a skit about dealing with Donald Trump as a plumber at Donald Trump's house when he was Donald Trump and talking to Donald Trump. So it was Trump versus Trump, Trump the plumber versus Trump the real, the fake real Trump. Anyway, very good. Joe Rogan actually, I think, picks up on this purposely. Like, Donald Trump is a crazy person. But he's he's the kind of crazy that I don't hate. Like I said, he went after and got Mark Bashaw squared away. That's on there. I hope that he actually reaches out and personally solves the problem of Garrett Boyle. That would also be heroic. I'll wear the MAGA hat for that, dude. I straight up I don't own one, but I'll buy one for that. Here's Joe Rogan. I think he sums it up right.
It's also like, they're like, oh, he's a crazy person. I'm like, yeah, that's the only kind of person that would survive what you try to do to him.
Right.
That's the only kind of guy that gets through. Like, you want a perfect person morally falls apart by the time they've been indicted and they've 34 counts, felony counts. Like, your whole body's just destroyed by the stress of you possibly going to jail for the rest of your life. You have to be a fucking insane person to ride that out and not look like anything even happened. Then you get shot.
Yeah.
You get up after you got shot. You're fucking bleeding from your ear and you go fight, fight, fight. You got to be a crazy person to get through these. He's a nightmare for anybody that's trying to rig a system. Like, that guy's the nightmare. He's the final boss of fuck you.
I almost called the episode today the final boss of fuck you. Thank you, Joe Rogan, for that. I'm going to contrast that, the sort of Trump attitude towards other people who have had difficult times in their life and have been struggling. We'll just throw it back to the beginning of the show.
I mean, I gave up everything for this. I mean, my wife is struggling. I'm not a victim. I'm not Jim Comey. It's fine. I did this, and I'm proud I did it.
Sorry. I can't help it.
Nice callback. It was a nice callback.
What are you doing this weekend, Steve? You got American Radicals on Saturday?
We do. Everybody should join us on the American Radicals podcast. We're going to be 10:30 tomorrow, Saturday, rumble.com/amradpod. You can also always listen on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart. And we're doing our Saturday grab bag, looking at happy trails for Elon Musk because he's leaving, and the imprint that the Doge has, I guess, is going to be long forgotten. Other than, I guess, we're getting rid of the penny, but it'll be fun. We're going to look at some just assortment of various stories. Have everybody join us tomorrow, 10:30 Eastern time.
Do so. Join the boys. This one is something you're going to enjoy. Stick around. This is our palate cleanse for the day. So, folks, it used to be better. That's why those of us that grew up before the 1990s, we used to have a thing called company, and I love this. I think this is Sebastian Maniscalco, who has a unpronounceable last name. I wish he didn't, but had my wife in stitches earlier today, so I'm sharing with you guys. Might as well go into Friday laughing.
I was sitting in my house a couple weeks ago, just relaxing. My doorbell rang. This is weird. It's a different feeling when your doorbell rings today opposed to 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago, your doorbell rang. That was a happy moment in your house. It's called company. Be sitting there on a Thursday night watching TV. Your doorbell rang, the whole family shot off the couch. Oh my God! Put the lights on, somebody's here! We got people! The whole family went to the door. The kids were in socks, they slid up to the door. Nobody looked to see who it was. Right? You just opened up the door. You were like, oh my God, look at that. Look at us here. And you'd ask them, what the hell are you doing here? And the person would be like, I was in the neighborhood. I thought I might stop by, see how the kids are doing. They're like, oh, come on in. We're gonna have some cake. Your mother had a little Entenmann's. Maybe some Sara Lee crumble cake. Just in case company came over.
That's it.
She made an announcement when she bought it. She's like, listen, nobody touch this cake. This is for company only. Those crap muffins, those are for you people.
Steve lived this. I know you did.
You better hope to God
to
somebody comes over so we can cut the cake.
Correct.
She put her cake in the middle of the table, proud of it. And she put it right in the middle. Cut yourself a slice. Want a cup of coffee? We're going to do want some Sanka?
Okay, I have to stop right here for a second. I don't know what Sanka is. My wife died laughing at that. It must be a regional thing. And then he called us out. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I'm looking at her. She's laughing. And then watch this.
Yeah, that's old school. A lot of the young kids are looking at me like, what is that, an iPhone app? What the hell is Sanka?
No idea.
Your mother had a tin, brown and orange tin of Sanka, ready to go just in case the company. She put a big pot on the table. Go ahead. Nobody had a cell phone back then. If your house phone did ring, your father stood up and said, nobody get that phone.
This is your dad?
We got company. And you lost track of time. 2 hours went by. You were like, we got to get out of here. That's okay. Next time we're going to come by you. But yeah, my door's always open.
Okay, I'm going to let him get to today only because I never run these clips this long, but I'm just saying this made me happy today. We need a little bit of life that makes us laugh, and this is good, so.
Now your doorbell rings?
That's it. This is us every day now.
It's like, what the
I get my gun. He's mouthing, get down, everybody get down, shut up, pointing at everybody to be quiet.
Turn the lights off.
That's right.
All right, your own mother's crawling across the kitchen floor. Get down, army crawl. Army crawl, get in the closet. Go get the sword in the living room. Somebody get the sword underneath the couch in the living
This
room.
is
There's a sword.
definitely a Northeast thing. We'd get a gun in Texas.
All right, you have to turn and ask your family, you invite anybody over? You invite anybody over? Oh, God, I got to open it. I got no cake. I got no sank. I got nothing. Got nothing for these people. You can't stop by anybody's house anymore.
You can't.
If you do, you have to call from the driveway.
Right?
That's true. I mean,
is this our life now, especially after what's been going on?
I mean, that's sort of the way I approach it. I mean, because I'm presuming that the tactical team is banging on the door. So
That's right. Yeah, but everybody does, even though they have no reason to, because apparently we were all insider threats. We were all possibly militia violent extremists or anti-government, anti-authority violent extremists or COVID-hating violent extremists. We think that there's a global conspiracy, even though like the globe sort of shut down for some wild reason for people who got the sniffles. Shoot, dude.
The friend household's kind of a weird hybrid because my kids still run to the door with their socks and slide up to it, and then my wife's like, "Get down!"
No, you have to get
the door.
Yeah, they haven't been properly indoctrinated yet. Here you go.
It's me and 3 other people. We're gonna walk up through this side. Is that your mother with a sword? Why did you have a sword?
We're getting the friend household a sword. Mama friend needs a sword. That's just it. That's all I had. I just wanted to share that with you because I thought it was good.
It is spot on. I've seen
Sebastian
him live.
Maniscalco. Look him up. He's the second Sebastian on Google. If you type in Sebastian, you'll get him. The first one is not Gorka. It's somebody else. And the second one is Maniscalco. So people are looking for him.
He's good content, man. Especially if you're of the northeastern background, because you would know what Sanka is, unlike Kyle Seraphin. But he drinks Blackout Coffee.
I do drink the Blackout Coffee. All right, buddy. Thanks for joining me for Friday. We went a little long. I don't care. I work for me. I'm going to have Steve Baker on for a Sunday sit down. We're putting together a fun show. I had Tim Kennedy come in the house, so I'll have that for you guys, a little treat in a week or so. And yeah, go see the American Radicals tomorrow, 10:30. Is that Eastern time?
It is Eastern time, Florida, America.
It's 9:30 in Central Texas, America. All right, bud. That's it for us today. Let me remind people that are watching. I'll say goodbye to Steve. Folks, if you're watching on Rumble and you're still watching, make sure you've hit the like button, please, pretty please. By the way, we got up to like 2,500 people watching live, and then Rumble realized that that's not how the algorithm works, and so they all dropped off, and that was really fun to watch. Saw it in real time, you all, just like you did. YouTube, you guys are killing it over there. YouTube.com/@Kyle Seraphin. Bookmark the channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like the video. Locals, you can see us over there. I'm putting some more stuff up from the shooting day. It's KyleSeraphin.com. And lastly, share it with a friend. Give them the audio and the video option. KyleSeraphinShow.com will take you right to our little homepage. Cost you nothing. All you get is the ad reads that we do. So if you want an ad-free experience, that's how you do it. That's all I got for the day. I hope you have a wonderful, fantastic weekend. I hope you guys get out there and enjoy some of the beautiful, ridiculous, very hot sunshine or the rainstorm like it was here in Texas, which got me all thrown off. God bless you, and I'll see you again after the weekend.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram @Kyle Seraphin.